There are two altcoins that are showing some promise in terms of recovery and a good push to the upside. In this video, we're going to dive down into the technical analysis of both of these coins. If you find this useful and informative, hit the like button, really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with that said, done, and out of the way, let's dive on down into the charts and take a look at what's going on with these two altcoins. Okay, so the first coin, guys, that we want to talk about is VeChain. So VeChain has been performing really well pretty much through this bull run, despite, what you might see in some of the comment sections of the videos or across the internet in general. Ultimately, if you're a very patient investor and not looking for instantaneous gains, then you would have noticed that you've seen over 18,000% in gains from the lows of March 2020 and, of course, the highs that we had up in April of 2021. This is basically comprising of Elliott impulsive waves 1 through to 3. Okay, we obviously, if you were buying at the top of wave 4, you had to endure wave 4. So top of the wave 3, you had to endure wave 4 all the way down to these low points. But this was a fantastic accumulation period for many people in the space. And again, if you're looking to get into VeChain, this is a good space to have done it. Okay, we had a cup and handle pattern that's just kind of come across that peak area. We're looking for that neckline, looking for a push to the upside. Basically, the month of September was a bit of a pullback as well. So it became very frustrating. A lot of people claim that VeChain doesn't do anything but trade sideways. Now, on this weekly chart, it's actually quite difficult to find sideways trades. There is this one down here when we're exiting out of wave 2 going into wave 3. Obviously, there was some little kind of traction here where we kind of push up and it was quite volatile around the bottom of wave 4. And other than that, to be honest with you, these are patterns that have been playing out and actually they're moving quite nicely. The other thing that's also important to acknowledge is that every wave that we have here, this wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, are comprised of waves in themselves, okay? So, for example, you'd have wave 4 here being a ABC wave, for example, okay? And you would also have an impulsive 5 waves inside our 5th wave. 1, 2, looking for 3, back for 4, and then top with 5, right? And that's how these things work. And obviously, if you go into them, and no matter what different timeline you go into, be that the hourly, the daily, the 5-minutely, there's going to be lots of different waves, okay? And you can get into a lot of detail of it, but we try to keep it simple, zoom right out, pay attention to the weekly. You've got good structure. You can see where things are going. Now, we also have on this weekly chart the trend-based Fibonacci extensions, okay? So basically this takes a look at the trends of the bull run and then tries to predict out that last wave. Where do we think, VeChain's actually going by the end of the bull run, by the peak of the bull run? And what we do for that, we take the low area of wave 2, the high area of wave 3, the low area of wave 4. We take 3 trends into consideration, as in downtrend 2, uptrend 3, and downtrend 4. Take all 3 of them, and you end up with a 4.236 extension at $1.20. Okay, so that's kind of where we think things are likely to end up going. We'll have to see how things play out, but that's a good kind of target to have in our mind by the peak of the bull run. Okay, so obviously that's just your weekly chart. Now, when we come into our daily, we get a little bit more clarity over what's going on with each candle. But we also changed the Fibonacci here. So here we just have one trend, the high of wave 3 and the low of wave 4. Okay, when we take those into consideration, we get a more conservative target of $1.01 for VeChain. That's where we put the 5th wave, okay? So it's important that you have a strategy about how you want to get out of this market, have a good idea of where you're going, what you want to achieve. Don't just hold on to a bag and never sell. See all the gains added to your portfolio, and then on the way down in the bear market, see all those gains come out. It's important that you do lock those profits in. We obviously like to sell at these key levels of the Fibonacci areas on the way up, alongside many other kind of support and resistance lines, and obviously taking into consideration other trading patterns. So make sure you have a good strategy around it, and you should be okay. Now, obviously on here, as I said before, we had that cup and handle, right? It is a sloppy cup and handle now because it's been going on for such a long time. And of course, this is more of a V bottom on our handle, and we try to avoid these things when it comes to cup and handle patterns. There's a reason that this particular type of pattern is only 60 to 70% accurate. Okay, it's basically people that maybe identify a cup and handle, but actually it isn't quite where it needs to be. A good example would be that if you actually have a handle that retraces more than 50% of our cup, then that is not going to actually be valid. That would invalidate the entire thing. So for VeChain here, I think actually I think it was like 48% down here. So very, very close to being invalidated on that kind of regard. And I think actually the V bottom here for this handle and arguably cup are things that you want to generally avoid. I don't think a cup and handle pattern is what we've actually now seen here. Instead, I think we're just progressing nicely to the upside in an impulsive way. The target still stands at 22.1. We're going to pass that anyway. And again, these are the key Fibonacci areas: 0.16, 0.702, and 0.786 as well. So key areas on there. Now, this is not what I'll come in to talk to you about today. Today, I want to talk about the more what's been going on very, very recently. So we're going to jump down into this hourly view. Okay, and before we actually talk about this, we're going to jump over to the Avide.io dashboard and also take a look at what the artificial intelligence and machine learning is telling us about VeChain. So right now we can see that we have downgraded, right? So we've dropped from an A2 rating to an A3 rating, okay? So this is indicating that there's a downtrend potentially here, right? And we've seen that in the charts on the hourly, and we're looking for the reversal. So basically, the reason that we see this downgrade is not because the liquidity is a problem or the Sharpe ratio is a problem, moving averages have changed, or the profitability has changed. We're seeing this downgrade because the fear and greed index has changed, okay? Basically, we can start to see some fear has seeped into the VeChain market. Now, ultimately, you see a downtrend that we've kind of seen at the moment, in ABC correction. We obviously had the stuff going on with Evergrande and pulling the market down a little bit. Ultimately, what we're actually reviewing is sentiment in the space. Now, when you're incredibly greedy, the way that we were, it's basically a big signal to pro traders to take profits, and you can kind of see that happening anyway. That's kind of quite natural in the space if you're following the patterns. So basically, as a result of that, some fear has seeped in after the price has pulled back a little bit. People are getting frustrated with VeChain specifically, with lots of kind of fake news, I want to call it, or FUD, where they say that it's China centralized, and for starters, it's not China. It's actually based in Singapore. They do a lot of work in China, but they're also worldwide. So you have to understand what's fact from fiction when it comes to VeChain. And actually, I think a lot of that stuff compounds fear. So right now, that is what's going on with the underlying data. We have dropped down a rating overall, and it is pretty much just a fear and greed index issue. So when we come back to the charts here and we take a look at what's going on, we can, of course, see that we are basically tracking this bigger. So this is where basically profits were being taken anyway. We had the A and the B. We were looking for the pullback of C, and the news or the FUD that came out about Evergrande just pulled us down deeper than we were expecting. As you can see, our yellow boxes right here, again, pulled back a little bit further than we would have expected it to, but again, it completed our ABC correction, okay? So again, that was very much in line with what we were kind of expecting, but what does this mean? Well, it means that we are now looking for an A, we're looking for a B, and we're looking for a C, right? The question then becomes, where do these things go? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our low area of wave C here, and this is basically going to form a new wave A. Okay, so wave A would form, we've completed about 16.9 cent. That's our wave A. And we're looking for a pullback. There's a pullback potential here. Although we have seemed to have the reversal already, it could actually be that we won't actually come down to this level, but it's possible. 15.6 would be an area of interest for me. Okay, that's the 618. So what we'll do is we'll just grab a horizontal ray and we'll just quickly mark that there, right? So that will be our low area of our wave B, okay, but it actually might have already come in. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll grab hold of this fib because wave C should equal exactly whatever wave A is. If we were to put that onto the 618 here, it shows us breaking this downtrend and moving out to 17.7. Okay, and again, 17.7 is a key area of resistance as we've seen previously. So that is an area that we'll be looking for our wave C to kind of come and push up to. So what I'll do is I'll remove this quickly and now actually draw on our ABC. So now we have a technical area, right? We have the A wave coming in here. I'm not going to put these bang on. I'm just going to give them an area so you can see. Now, if this is our wave B, I'll leave it there. then we are looking for wave C to breach our downward trend line and approach that resistance at 17.7 cent. Okay, so right now this is actually an interesting point for VeChain because we're looking for a reversal and we're looking for a push up after this profit is being taken. But it's also still a part of a bigger downward trend. So the artificial intelligence is absolutely correct in saying profits are being taken. There's a slippage in our fear and greed index and we are pulling down, but we don't move down in straight lines. And what we're actually witnessing here is an ABC up, which will then obviously pull back down into another ABC to the downside. Okay, so profits can be taken here for VeChain over a good push to the upside and around this area of approximately 11 or so percent before we actually then go ahead and slip down into another A, B, and C. Again, where this actually will land, it will have to obviously analyze closer to the time. But for now, this is an interesting kind of move for VeChain. So that's altcoin number one. I really wanted to kind of just bring that up to your attention so you're aware of what's going on in the space of VeChain. It's looking pretty good for a push for the upside on the smaller timescales, but do expect some volatility to the downside on the slightly larger timeframes of the daily. With that being said, though, weekly is looking very, very good and is still on track for $1.20. Okay, so the second altcoin that I found interesting, and I'm going to start this up with the weekly, is XLM. It's Stellar. Okay, so Stellar is usually that slower moving coin, right? It's one that can frustrate people. I've been invested in Stellar for a very, very long time. Don't tend to talk about it too much. It goes quiet for a long period of time and then something happens and then it heats up again. And in the case of Stellar here, we can see wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the same way that we had with VeChain. Now with this one, obviously wave 2 was quite shallow and sharpish to a degree, and then it traded sideways. And then we went into a nice wave 3 where it went really, really well, all the way up to 77. Wait, let me just check that a second. A high of 79.8, sorry. Okay, so that was your high of 3. And then we pulled all the way down here to 19.6. Okay, frustrating people, specifically if they're buying at the top. Because you'll find is a lot of retail investors will chase the green candles, and you see this with Solana right now. And they're chasing they're chasing the money, and then the rug gets pulled from them, and you pull right back. Okay, so it's important that we acknowledge that everything kind of moves in waves. These are almost predictable levels as well. Okay, because you can kind of predict out where these things are likely to go, and then how far you're going to correct down. Okay, so for the most part, this is perfectly fine and pretty natural. And then obviously we started to heat up into our fifth wave. Now, as I said before, right, everything kind of moves in waves. So you'd have wave 1, 2, we're into 3 now, pull back for 4, and then push up for 5. Okay, so overall, on this weekly chart, the structure is pretty good. It isn't as neat as maybe something like Ada's chart, but it's very, very neat, or very, very structured in the same way. Okay, so we are looking to progress. Now, when we take a trend-based fib, like we do with VeChain, from the low of 2, the high of 3, the low of 4, those 3 trends that we spoke about previously, this actually shows this one moving out to $3.33. Okay, on the daily chart, though, we're more conservative. We take a look at just the high of 3 and the low of 4. And again, this allows us to then actually see this thing moving out to $2.74. Okay, so be conservative, lock those profits in, and we should be okay. Obviously, here you can see the similar kind of patterns that have formed many times over. But again, not a cup and handle, I don't believe, and we are looking still to track to the upside overall. But do feel this one is going to be a slightly slower burn. Okay, if we take a look at the previous bull run with XLM, it was probably one of the last coins to actually go along with XRP, and when it went, it absolutely went nuts. So again, something I want to have exposure to, but again, also acknowledge that it's going to be volatile. As we come down into our hourly view, this is where we start to see exactly what's been going on most recently, and we're just going to dissect this down in a moment. First of all, we'll come over to our evi.io and actually just click on our Stellar icon here. We're an A3 cryptocurrency rating, so it hasn't moved up, it hasn't moved down. It's pretty general overall. Now, the Sharpe ratio is still looking pretty good, but we are getting close to that 50-day average. An A2 rating there, so the risk-reward ratio is still working for us. The fear and greed index, however, is, of course, neutral, B1. We got no problems with liquidity in A2, moving averages at A2, and the profitability is in A1, right? So again, it's actually looking pretty good except for the sentiment, right? So this basically is just telling us that there's going to be some volatility as profits are taken and as fear seeps into the market. Okay, so overall we can see that we were tracking quite dramatically to the downside along with everything that was going on with Evergrande, right? And obviously this pullback and now we're looking to try to track this to the upside. Okay, so here we are looking for a bit of an A, a B, taking us down to this oversold area, and we're looking for that C wave again. Okay, so very similar to what we just went through with VeChain. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this high area here, okay, or the low area that we had at 36.3 cents, and the high area that we had which came in at 40.3. Okay, this is your wave A. Okay, so it's wave A, and then as we come down, we're looking for that 618, that's 37.8. Now we came close to it. Okay, and I think that's actually a good point to say that we're likely to have a reversal, but do be aware that we could potentially pull back into this area just here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab hold of this. We're going to move this up into our area just here, and we get that on the line. There we go. Okay, so this actually then shows us moving out to 41.8 for wave C. Okay, so again, I'm going to grab hold of a line, and we're just going to quickly mark that up on Stellar here. So then we're going to delete this off. Okay, so here's our trading points, right? So now we know what's kind of expected to happen based on this ABC. Okay, so basically we have our A, we have our B, and then we'll have our C. Okay, now obviously we can go higher with wave C, because in an ideal world what we want is an impulsive move to the upside. Now in order for that to be impulsive, what we first of all need to do is basically take hold of this area here. Let me just do this and grab this and push this over here. Okay, if we want this to be impulsive, we need to push past the 1.382 area. Okay, so I'm going to quickly grab this and also mark this up and drop it here. Okay, cool. Then we can just remove this. Okay, cool. So basically, if wave C pushes past 41.8 and goes higher than 43.1, then we're not an ABC correction. Instead, we are a 1, a 2, a 3, with a potential pullback for 4, and then going into a fifth wave as well. Okay, so this is the difference between an ABC and an impulsive move. We are tracking these key levels within our Fibonacci areas, which resonate incredibly well with Elliott theory. So again, we're just looking to try to track this, pull this back, and then push up again. So yeah, right now we're tracking the ABC, but we are aware that it could change into an impulsive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm just going to delete that off and leave that there for now. We have our targets. Okay, we are right at the bottom of wave B. We're looking to track up to wave C. If wave C continues to push up past 43.4, then we are impulsive and we're looking to continue to grow to the upside. Right now, the stochastic on both VeChain and XLM are oversold, so some good times should be had over the weekend, hopefully going into Monday. Guys, I'm going to leave this video there. If you have found it useful and informative, then hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.